Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. Robinson again, and this time we're going to continue our studies using the graphing calculator, the TI84 Plus. All right, here's what we have to first do. Normally, we have to fill in the t-chart for the equation y equal x minus 2. So normally, we have to pick values for x. So we would start with 0. That way we can work with the easy number, replace x with 0, then minus 2, and solve it for y. 0 minus 2 is equal to minus 2. So the value of y would equal to minus 2, and our coordinate would be the 0 for the x, and we solve for the y value, which is minus 2. Then we would go pick another number, say 1, and get back to our equation again. Y equal, this time we'll put a 1 in place of the value of x and subtract 2 from it. Minus 2. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. So y is equal to negative 1. And if you forgot how to do that, remember the rule K, C, C. You're adding the additive inverse of the second number. So you keep the 1, change the minus to a positive, a plus, and change the 2 to negative 2. And you have one little positive, and underneath it you have two negatives. And remember, you cancel out the positive and negative, and you're left with just one little positive. So that's how we get negative 1. So our coordinate will be x would be 1, and y would be negative 1. So we have 2 points, and we would continue filling out our chart, picking some more values for x and solving for y. Now that's what we normally would do when it came down to solving and filling in the t-chart for the values of x and y. But we have a graphing calculator in our midst, and we are going to use it today. So let's get to the steps that you need to know. So write this down somewhere. Steps to making the t-chart. So we're going to make that t-chart that we just filled in by using the graphing calculator. Step 1, press the y equal button, and the y equal button is a button that's really based upon the calculator. So let's get it and take a quick look at it. It's over here. So let's make that a little bit bigger. So it's over there. It says y equal to 2. So let's close that. So it's the first button on the top. And type in your function or your equation once you see it. And then press enter. And then press second. And press graph. The graph button is located at the end. So let's enlarge this a little bit. So it'll say graph on it. So we'll press that last. So those are the 5 steps we're due to make a t-chart. And the reason why we press second is because on top of it, it says table. So we will see the table that we're going to make using our t-chart and our graphing calculator. So here's an equation we're going to try to use those steps. So let's get our graphing calculator up. And let's put it over here. Let's press our y equal button. Let me make this so we can see. And when we press our y equal button, we'll see all of these different values set for y. I have a colored version of the TI84 Plus, so I have different colors for my lines. You have y1, which would be equation y equal for the first equation. You have all the way down from y1 all the way down to, I believe, y to the 0, which is 10. So there are 10 equations that you can write at one time. So let's write in this x minus 2. It's already set for y equal, so now all we have to do is type x minus 2. Now there's an x button right next to the alpha button you can press that, and that'll give you x. Then type your minus and 2. That's your function or your equation. Press enter, and now that it's in, all we have to do to see is press second and graph. Now if you notice, the table changes, the screen changes, and you see a table of numbers, a list of numbers, and let's drag that out here so we can see that. So here we have those values like we just solved a minute ago, where x was 0, we solved for y equal to -2, x was 1, we solved, and y was equal to -1. So we have the other values. Here's a list of values for x, and here are the list of values for the corresponding y when x is those numbers. So we can now use our graphing calculator to make our table instead of knocking ourselves out doing all of that hard work. So that's a good thing about having a graphing calculator. So let's move on. Now we want to make a graph of that equation. We want to see what the picture looks like because we have all those points, so we want to make a graph of it. Here are the steps to make a graph. So we have step 1, press the y equal button again. Step 2, type in your function as you did before. Step 3, press enter. But now step 4, we're going to press zoom. And then step 5, press standard. So we have a new button we're going to use. That's the zoom button. So the zoom button is located right here in the middle of the screen. It says zoom right on it. So we'll press that button to zoom in on our graph. So let's get equation. So graph the equation, sketch the graph, so they want you to make a drawing of it, and make the table of solutions for the values of x from -3 to 3. So they want to know what would be the value of x and y ranging from -3 to 3. So let's get our graphing calculator. We have two equations, y equal 2x minus 3, and let's type that in first. So let's go to our y equal button. We already have something in there, so let's clear that out, pressing clear. Now type 2, and remember your X button is located right next to the green alpha button. And then type -3. Press enter, and now we want to see the table, the graph, so we just press the graph button. And we'll see what it looks like. And now that's what it looks like, but we should press zoom 6. Zoom standard. So that's zoom standard. So we should press number 6. And that way we see a 10 by 10 screen, and there's what it looks like. So we have a picture, a sketch of this function. So I'll put the sketch right here. And now let's take a look at the table. We want the table. Remember, we have to press second graph so we can see the table. Now I notice it only goes up to 0. We're supposed to get from -3 to 3. So we got the value from 0, 1, 2, and 3, but we're going to have to go up to see those negative numbers. So if we press the up button while we're on the x coordinate, we can see what -1 is. Go back a little more to -2 and back to -3. So you see x is equal to -3, and the value of y, if we press the right button, will be -9. So we can go over to the x value and go up as many times as we want to see what the other values and any number that we want to. This will go on and on for a very long time. So you can see what values that you need, and we only need the values from -3 to +3. So I have my values right here, so I'll just grab this and write them down and bring it down here. So I now have my values. -3 is for x is -9, all the way down to +3, which is +3 for y. So here are all my value and my points for this equation. So let's go to the second equation. There's the second equation here. They want us to do the same. This time they want to use y equal 2x plus 3. So I'm going to go down to my second line. I'm going to leave that on for a second. Y equal 2x plus 3 and type in 2x. Here's my x button, plus 3. Press enter. And notice the color of this line is going to be red. So I have my first equation is going to be blue. My second equation is going to be red. So take a look at what happens when I press press zoom 6 standard. So here's my blue line coming. There's my blue line. That was the first equation. And now here comes my red line, y equal 2x plus 3. So there's my graph of the second one. And I want to really look at that second one because it's the red one, and I'm noticing that these lines are parallel. And if I look at what's interesting about them, they both have a 2x, and the value of x next to it is the slope. So the value is 2 in both equations. So the slope is 2, but the y-intercepts are different. The y-intercept here is +3 in the red line. That's for the second equation. The y-intercept down here is -3 for the first blue equation. So if the y-intercepts are different but the slopes are the same, I'm going to have parallel lines. So this is very interesting. Something we should note, same slopes gives us parallel lines. So now I got to get one more thing. I got to get my values for this one. So notice I have in my table, so let's get to the table, second graph. I'm going to say table. It's already there set, so all I have to do is just write down my coordinates, and they're in red for me. That's why I like this calculator. It's in color so I can see which equation, and just to be sure, if I want to, I can go over to this red y2, the second one I wrote, and there I can see exactly what this equation is. So let me drag this out and put this over here. So here's my second equation, and here are the values y for y equal 2x plus 3. And in red, -3, -3, 2, +2, -2, -1, -1, +1, 0, +3. So I see all of my points, and I can compare the points here, and later on I'm going to see something called the point of intersection to see if these lines actually intersect. So that's also very interesting when we study more with the graphing calculator. So the graphing calculator is a very interesting tool which will help us to graph our lines and make our t-charts a lot nicer. Saves us a lot of work. So here's a question for you to try with your graphing calculator. Again, sketch the graph and make the table of solutions for the values from -3 to 3. And we have these two equations, y equal. Remember, it always has to be y equal. That way you'll be able to graph it with no problem because the graphing calculator always uses y equal to. So I hope you got something out of this video, and I hope you'll be able to use the graphing calculator in the future in class with me. So this is Dr. Robinson signing off. I will see you in class. Bye-bye.